And if you do try to change that, then you will come under the category of the Prophet's warning that kullu bid'atin dalala wa kullu dalala fin nar. That every bid'ah is misguidance, every misguidance is in the fire. You cannot change the way salah is read. You can't say now at Isha namaz, I'm going to read 5 rakats instead of 4. You can't change the timing of Hajj. These are specific ibadahs and you have to read it in the exact way. That is one type of ibadah given. The other type of ibadah is where the Prophet ﷺ gave general guidance to the Muslims. And the method and the timing and the frequency he left up to us. He left that in our hands. Nafal prayers. How we perform them, when we perform them, then that is left in our hands. Dua, supplication. How often we do that, when we do that, that is in our hands. But we're encouraged to do it generally. Salatul salam upon the Prophet. We are encouraged to do that at all times. When and where, that is entirely up to us. Yes, even with these 3, if there are particular times where we are not supposed to be doing it, the Prophet ﷺ informs us so. So nafal prayers, you can read how many you want, when you want. But at zawal time, the Prophet has made it clear, you're not going to read any then. Du'as, you can perform how many du'as you want, when you want and how you want. If there is a time when you're not supposed to be performing du'a, you've been told. When the Imam is delivering the khutbah on Jummah. Or when you are relieving yourself in the toilet. So you are allowed to do these. If there are particular times where you're not supposed to be doing it, then the Prophet ﷺ has made it clear. And this goes back to a very, very important qanoon in usul fiqh, in which there is no doubt whatsoever. Al-aslu fil ashya'i al-ibaha. The default state in religion is that everything is permissible until proven otherwise. Not the other way round. Not everything is forbidden until proven otherwise. Everything is allowed for you, and if it isn't, then Sharia will tell you. And you will understand and appreciate that this is the method which is most closest to common sense as well. You are allowed to perform transactions how you want in the field of business. If it is forbidden, then the Sharia has told you. Don't indulge in interest. Don't indulge in property that you haven't actually got yet. You know, when it's preemptive buying, that you haven't actually got the property yet and you're trying to sell it on to somebody else. That kind of transaction you're not supposed to be doing. You're allowed to eat everything or anything you want. If you're not allowed to eat it, you've been told. Stay away from pork, stay away from alcohol. And if you want to believe the Wahhabi position, which is everything is forbidden until proven otherwise, then imagine that in the field of food and drinks. Can you imagine that Sharia has given a long list that yes, you're allowed to have cornflakes, you're allowed to have Rice Krispies, you're allowed to have biscuits, you're allowed to have that. And it will be a long, long list. What's easier, to tell you what you're allowed to do or what you're not allowed to do? So Sharia has said that everything is permissible for you. If it's not, then we will make it clear for you. And the same goes to du'as, the same goes to ibadah, the same goes to all of these fields. And that is why, going back to that example of Sayyidina Bilal and reading the 2 rakats after every wuzu, the Prophet never forbade it. Because it was under which type was it under? It was under this one. It was the general type. It came under that, so that's why the Prophet ﷺ did not forbid it. Likewise, in this mosque, our Imam here, Hazrat Allama Hafiz Sultan Shah Sahib, he started a beautiful bid'ah in this mosque. That how many of us otherwise remember, we did this a couple of weeks ago, that to save yourself from the punishment in the grave, that the Prophet ﷺ encouraged us that to read Surah Mulk every night. How many people without fail read that every night? How many people actually do without fail? Most of us don't. And with this in mind, Allama Sahib, after every Isha prayer, he has started the brilliant bid'ah that after the sunnahs and the witrs and everything, he himself recites Surah Mulk in its entirety loudly. So it is covering now the sunnah. And you know, fair enough, the Prophet ﷺ never did this. But now it is a time of laziness and apathy. That here, Allama Sahib is reading on behalf of everyone. Likewise, you know very well that on Friday, You're supposed to read Surah Kahf before Jummah prayers. In Masjid al-Bilal, before the bayan starts, that Hafiz Iqbal there, he will recite Surah Kahf in its entirety loudly. It will take 10-15 minutes, but everyone can listen to it. This is a great bid'ah. This is something which is good. And it is doing a favor, and inshallah ta'ala, like the hadith says, Man sanna fil Islami sunnatan hasanatan, that whoever initiates a good practice, then he will get a good reward for it. And inshallah, and our Lord is most compassionate and most merciful. Whoever comes to Isha, and whoever listens to Surah Mulk, because of it, then inshallah Hafsab here will get the reward for that until the Day of Judgment. This is a good practice that has started. You might think, from the impression that we've given, that it is always them that's saying, oh, it's bid'ah, 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 and we're saying, no, it's not bid'ah, not bid'ah, not bid'ah. That we're just constantly saying, no, it's not. But the truth is, there's a lot of things that they've actually initiated, that the Wahhabis and Salafis have done, which they turn a blind eye to. Saudi National Day. This is a bid'ah. This is totally wrong, to have a day specific to celebrate the patriotism or the national ideals of your country. This is totally wrong. And how do they justify this? They say, well, it's not religious, so it's nothing to do with Islam. It's a non-religious event. So therefore it comes under the bid'ah, which is permissible. It's not actually part of that. Sheikh Ramadan Bhuti, you might have heard of, a great Syrian scholar. He wrote in this book here written by Jibril Haddad. He said, he's a Syrian scholar, and he said that a couple of years ago I was invited to a conference to highlight the life and achievements of Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab Najdi. That the Saudis had called him and said that come to this conference, because he was obviously a very highly esteemed scholar. He said, come and participate in this conference to highlight the great achievements of our leader, of our Sheikh Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab Najdi. And the Sheikh Bhuti, he basically said that, look, fair enough, I'm not going to say it's a bid'ah, but if this isn't a bid'ah, celebrating the life of Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab, why are you saying that celebrating the life and achievements of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in the form of Mawlid is a bid'ah? I'll happily come to this conference, but please, why are you forbidding the Mawlid then? Where is the wisdom behind that? In this city, I know for a fact that sometimes some mosques and some Darul Uloom, they perform the Shabina of Sahih al-Bukhari. So what they do is that the Sahih al-Bukhari is the most authentic compilation of the ahadith. The students who have graduated, they will recite the whole of Bukhari Sharif in one go, in one sitting. This is total bid'ah, totally wrong. I could argue until Fajr why this is wrong. Because the Prophet ﷺ never did that. His companions certainly never did that. Where is the justification for that? For coming to the mosque and reciting Sahih Bukhari? There is no justification for it. Reciting Sahih Bukhari doesn't even actually bring you reward. When you recite the Holy Quran, it brings you reward. You know, when we come on Laylatul Bara'ah, when we come on Mawlid and we hear the Quran, we're getting a reward for it. But technically speaking, there is no reward for listening to the ahadith like there is for the Quran. So this is a bid'ah. This is totally, you could argue that wrong as well. These 40-day Jamaats that the Deobandis go on, this is bid'ah as well. Where does this practice come from? So why are they turning a blind eye to those practices, yet they are happy to say that this action is bid'ah, that action is bid'ah as well? There is one bid'ah that we can all agree on, that is totally wrong, and I will conclude on that. And perhaps this is something that we need to reflect on. Sayyida Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha, she says, the first real bid'ah that happened in the Islamic Ummah, the first one that was totally alien to the Prophet and his companions, is Shaba. That was the first bid'ah. What does Shaba mean? It means to eat until you're full. That was the first bid'ah. To eat until you are completely satisfied. To eat and drink until you can't move. Because this was not the practice of the Prophet, this was not the practice of the Khulafai Rashidin. This is something which is totally alien, totally deviant, totally wrong in Islam. That's when Islam started going wrong. That the Prophet himself, his example was that he used to divide the stomach into 3 parts. One for food, one for water, and one empty. And then the way that our history is that unfortunately, owing to political factors, financial factors perhaps, we deviated from the Sunnah and we totally went wrong. And this is the But it's real bid'ah that Sayyid Aisha says that which started deviation away from Islam. A last point that I think last week I mentioned a book written by some scholars from Al-Azhar and from Syria. Basically this book is a brilliant book where they mention a lot of the objections put forward by the Saudi scholars, by the Salafis, and they have included their fatwas from the likes of Sheikh bin Baz, and then the Al-Azhari scholars and their likes have shown where they are coming from and why they are wrong. I'll just give you a few examples. A question was asked regarding the validity of kissing the holy book, and then this is the fatwa from the Permanent Committee from Saudi Arabia. The holy book was revealed for reading and reflection. There is no evidence to support that Muslims should kiss it. So they actually say don't kiss the Quran. And then they've got a 2-page answer there, what our position is from the Al-Azhari scholars. It's a great book. I only got one copy because a great sheikh from Syria, he gave me a copy. You can download one from fixyourdeen.com. So go onto this website and download it. And additionally, this is downloadable in 3 languages, Arabic, English and Urdu. So it's about 200 pages long. Just put it on your desktop, and you can use a search facility. If you've got a certain question that is bugging you, then you can find that. Things like wasila, things like mawlid, things about shirk and visiting the shrines of the Prophet, things about everyday issues, credit cards, working in banks, shares, all of these kind of issues is covered quite comprehensively in this book. Just before question and answers, there's one request that I would like from everyone, is that this is the final session, inshallah ta'ala. Please do not leave. Firstly, because there are hot refreshments for you, and there are drinks as well. Please do stay behind and have them before you leave. And there is someone has brought in some cakes for refreshments as well. Jazakallah for that as well. So please leave. And the purpose behind that is obviously it's the last one. And secondly, we do daily require your feedback for the program that we have had over the last few weeks. So there is a very, very simple feedback form which will take you about 50 seconds to fill in. Please fill it in. And for you, this 50 seconds or a minute, for us it's invaluable. So we'll get some idea that if we want to do similar programs in the future, then where we are going right, where we are going wrong. I know a lot of people, they hate filling in these forms. I never fill them in myself. When you go to conferences, you completely ignore these forms. But for once, please do fill in these forms as you leave. It's all in the back hall. The sheets as well, the bid'ah presentation, a lot of detail I've missed out today. A lot of the detail and the references are in the handout. Do read them, please, as you leave. Inshallah, we'll have a few questions and then